Hello, fellow fly fishers. Today I'm going to tie a Perdigon for you. It's called the Gasolina. It was created by the Spanish competition fly fishermen. And popularized by the French. Perdigons are they're very effective flies. They're used in a lot of competitions. The idea behind the Perdigon is it sinks through the water column very quickly in faster water to get to the strike zone. What can you say about a Perdigon? It's easy to tie. It's very effective. I would say throw some in your box. So today when I tie this for you, I'm going to use it, like I said, it's called the Gasolina. For the thread, I'm going to use an olive 70 denier. And you want to use a stranded thread so you can unravel it and keep it flat on the hook. That's very important so you have a smooth body. Then I'm going to cover the thread with Semperfli Perdigon body. See, it's iridescent copper. So it's translucent. So when it goes on, you'll see the color of the thread through this material. Gives it an iridescence, but it does come through the thread color. So you can tie it in different colors. But for the tail, I'm going to use Coq de Leon. It's a very durable fiber, very beautifully barbed. As you can see, the fibers are just, yeah, very pretty. Then for the Hotspot, tie a Hotspot on here with some orange Vivas thread, 12-aught Vivas. I'm going to put a wing bud with some wet and wild black nail polish. And I'm going to cover it all with some UV resin. Okay, let's get started. So start my thread behind the bead and get it secured. And then I'm going to make sure, if you're a right-handed fly tyer, you want to rotate your bobbin counterclockwise to flatten the thread. So I've already selected a few fibers off the Coq de Leon. When you pull off the fibers, you want to pull them off 90 degrees to the quill so their tips line up. So I've got about 6 fibers here. You want about, I would say, anywhere from 3 to 6 fibers. You don't really want any more because that will affect the sink rate. That's one of the main purposes of this fly, is so it gets down fast. So the tail shouldn't be too long, about a hook shank in length. So I think I'm right about there. So let's go for that. You want to keep the fibers on top of the hook shank all the way down. Okay. You just I like to use the fibers to keep my wraps touching wraps. And let me get this nice and flat again here, counterclockwise. It almost looks like I have a little, yeah, it started to get a little bunched up there, but we'll cover that up. That won't be a big deal. So once I get down to the bend of the hook, that's it. I do like to bring the thread underneath the fibers and kind of pull it tight. It separates the fibers and lifts them up. See, as you can see now, I've got them separated. Oh, one's a whaley. That's an erratic dude. Anyway, let's see what happens. I think it's going to settle down. Oh, there we go. Lift those guys up a little bit. So then I'll bring my thread back up to the, got too much thread. You want to maintain thread management. Thread management, you don't really want more than about 1 inch or so outside the bobbin, tip of the bobbin. You get too much thread, it kind of, well, it's hard to keep proper tension on the thread. You really, you want proper tension on all your flies when you tie. So you don't want to get a lot of thread outside the tip of the bobbin. And get rid of that excess material. So now I'm going to tie in the body material, which I have already selected a little strand for you guys. So cut off a little piece, about 5 or 6 inches. That's enough to do a couple flies. So I just bring that down. You can bring it down on the side of the hook shank. Again, a little rotation. and bring the thread back up. We'll bring it back up to the bead. Then we're going to come down, about halfway, and then back up, and then down another quarter of the way down the shank to create a taper for the body. So I can see a little fiber here. We'll take care of that. So again, about halfway down the hook shank. So the color of the bead, you always want to use tungsten for these flies. I wouldn't say always, but most of the time you want to use tungsten. You don't really want to add any additional weight because it will bulk up the body, and that's something you don't want to do. You want to keep the body thin profile. Okay, and then as you wrap, you want touching wraps. Now be careful when you go past the tip of the hook. I just hit it again. If you hit it too many times and you hit it hard enough, you could break the body material, and then you gotta unwrap it and tie it back in again. It's not a big deal, but it can be frustrating. Now, especially if I did it here, that would be pretty embarrassing. I'd have to stop the video and start over again. I can still hear I'm hitting it, as I tell you not to. Okay, we're getting close here. The end is near. Okay, here we go. We're gonna tie this off in a second. And that's probably good, as we're gonna have a hot spot there. I like to tie this off. Then I like to trap it with a couple, maybe a wrap or two behind the beads, the heat head. And I'll cut this excess off. Okay. Now, I'll give this about a 2-turn whip finish because we're going to tie the hot spot in. A little out of focus. So, just a couple turns. It doesn't need to be much because you're going to cover this with the UV resin. That's going to add a lot of, well, that's going to trap all the thread and add a ton of durability to this thing. You also, since we're fishing this, and a lot of times you're kind of going to be close to the bottom of the stream or river, you want to maybe check the tip, sharpen it up after you fish it for a little while. Now let me tie in the hot spot. You don't want a big hot spot. Keep it small, guys. It's a common mistake to make it too big. It's easy to do. Now, depending on the diameter of the thread you have, you don't have to have 12 aught or 14 aught. You can use 70 denier. You can use something else, but so that would kind of depend on how many wraps you want to use. Just keep it small. You can see already, without too many wraps, I've already got a decent sized hot spot there. So now we'll just couple whip finish turns there. All right, now we're gonna hit it with a little bit of UV glue. You don't need much. And you want to cover the body with the UV glue. Keep it off the tail. You want to cover the threads too. I didn't mention, I think I didn't mention the sequence too well here. So I like to put a little coat of UV glue on first before I use the black nail polish. And that's because it can tend to run a little bit into the threads, and I don't want that. So let me add a little bit of black for the wing bud on top here. Just a dab. turn it upside down, let it dry for a minute. So that's the fly. What I'll do is go back with a little more UV resin over the top of the, and just a dab over the top of the nail polish for durability. It's going to stay on better than the nail polish will. And in essence, that is Perdigon Gasolina with a little hotspot. Thanks for watching, guys, and tie some up, put them in your box, and don't catch them all. All right, thanks again.